everyone. My name is W, aka William. Welcome to another edition of a fabulous event here on High Arts on the Edge. I am here with a very special guest, someone I acquired knowledge of through YouTube and that experience and that rabbit hole that I've been on at 1 in the morning or 1 in the afternoon. Before I allow and present our guest to come on in here, I want to give you a little background as to how I learned about Dereck Higgins. There was a YouTube posting that he submitted, and I was able to watch it regarding a band that he and I greatly admire. And of course, I'm talking about this band, the Chameleons. Now, what struck me about this YouTube clip was Dereck has a knack for words. His words are spot on when he is exuding and expressing his passion for the arts and for music. And so when he was sharing his love for the Chameleons, I clearly remember, and you can go back and watch it, as he's playing the music, there is a pause and he's hearing the notes and the melodies and the sonic textures. And he said one thing that I never heard about this band. I've read many different descriptions. And he said, this band has soul. And I thought, that's it. This gentleman understands the pulse of this band and understands what they're all about. And so without further ado, I would like to bring in Dereck Higgins. Dereck, how are you today?
Hello, happy Sunday morning to you, W. I'm good. How are you?
Cheers. I'm doing wonderfully great here in the Bay Area. It's nice and sunny. Finally, we've been bombarded with heavy rainfall.
I've been watching that.
And it's been quite brutal. But I will take rain any day as I'm a big fan of the English weather.
Absolutely.
So before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts, I noticed yesterday something special happened to you.
Yeah.
Would you care to share that?
Well, yeah. Well, local musician Curly Martin, drummer who made a name for himself internationally, but especially nationally, passed away recently. He was a Motown session drummer, as well as a lot of other stuff that he's done. His son is the acclaimed hip hop producer Terrace Martin. So Terrace arranged for a celebratory event yesterday to remember his dad, and he brought in some musicians, including Kamasi Washington and some other notable names to play, and we did a balloon release. It was really special because Curly Martin goes all the way back to my childhood, that he was a student of my dad's. And then as an adult, when Curly moved back to Omaha, we reconnected. And Curly is a caustic person that people can be put off by because he doesn't mince words. I liked that about him and became a good friend of his. And so we had that celebration yesterday, and I finally got to meet Terrace. I'd been trying to make that happen while Curly was still alive, but it didn't happen.
So in that experience yesterday, any insight into your mind there in terms of your feelings, anything that bubbled up for you?
Well, as the event was going on, the thing that bubbled up was an immense sense of pride about Omaha musicians and our history. Terrace told it like I had never heard it, that Curly, when he left Omaha to go professional, the idea wasn't to leave Omaha and make it and just leave it all behind. He came back to Omaha, and I didn't realize that Curly had the intention of trying to come back to Omaha and revive the North Omaha music scene, and he couldn't make it happen. People were put off by his personality, you know. I didn't really know that that's what he was trying to do. He didn't have to come back to Omaha. He was very successful.
You mentioned the word caustic. How are you two similar in any fashion?
I say what's on my mind, and I'm not afraid of people. And I'm pretty easygoing, but if you cross me, I'm gonna let your ass know.
Mhm.
Okay. The other thing is that Curly was like me in that he responds to people's perceptions when they're incorrect about you. Because I meet people and they'll say stupid shit like, "Oh, you're a blues man, right? The fuck you talking about?" Just, you know what I mean? You're gonna just automatically say that when you meet me. That just sounds like shit. And stuff like that. So we were honest and just direct and old school. I come from the old school that he does, where you get your head knocked as a musician to learn how to play right and don't bullshit other musicians. And so I'm like that. I'm just not up for no bullshit.
Where do you think that came from?
The hard knocks of life. Um, Terrace also put this in perspective that when we go back in history to Louis Armstrong and Billie Holiday and all those amazing black musicians who suffered just to play that music. The stories about Sammy Davis Jr. playing Las Vegas and he can't even go to the club he's playing at, has to come in through the kitchen. When he's done on stage, he can't go out into the audience. Shit like that. Okay. You that's why I don't take shit from white people regarding my comments where they think I'm being, well, that's just too much for me. Well, shit, you don't know what it's like. If you knew what it was like, you'd shut the fuck up. You don't. And so I don't have no problem speaking like this because it needs to be known. There's a big gulf between what a person can experience based on their skin color in this shitty ass world.
Mhm. And do you feel with this hard knocks, this tough situation that you've discussed,
Hmm.
you mentioned that you're a gentle person.
I like people.
You like people. And
Yeah.
it probably takes a lot for you to get to that, to arrive to that level of frustration. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, I think I'm ahead of that because I was raised with good values as a kid. And so I took them seriously even as a little boy. So I've been working on that do unto others my whole life. It makes a whole lot of sense to me. And it also makes sense to me that when you find something that's beneficial to a few and you share that benefit to others, we all rise. So I'm just always trying to operate on that premise, even though a lot of individual people will get on my nerves and make me mad. I still love them and want us all to raise up together.
Who raised you?
My parents and my grandparents. My mom's parents. We lived across the street from them. My grandfather was a Baptist minister. Originally, everyone thought I was going to be a minister, and I actually followed that path for a while, all the way up until out of high school, and then experienced some things that told me, okay, so this is not what I want to do, but the essence there, the values, not the dogma. That was what I was connected to. What
Brothers
can
and
I?
sisters?
Yeah, I got two brothers and two sisters, so I'm the middle kid. What
Uh,
kind, what kind of coffee you drinking?
Pete's Coffee.
All right,
Nothing but I love Pete's. Good
all right.
stuff. You talked about when we met prior to this a couple days ago. I
Hmm.
want to learn more about Omaha.
Sure.
I know nothing about it. You just kind of peppered it with some really nice words in terms of the music scene,
Mhm.
which we'll get into certainly.
Yeah.
What? How did Omaha play a role in your life? Give us a little background there.
Well, obviously I was born here. My parents, my mom's from Omaha, my dad's from Kentucky and was raised in Chicago. So when I was real young, we shuttled back and forth between Chicago. And the thing I would say about Omaha is, I credit my parents and my grandparents for this because my dad purposely moved us into a mixed neighborhood, um, not in the black part of Omaha, so that we would be able to experience um, a real life, what life is actually like. And so very early on, I was introduced to deep racism as well as wonderful people of all colors and nationalities. And so that's part of why I found it easy to stay in Omaha is because I have established, that there are wonderful people here, as well as all the rednecks and fools and hillbillies, here, because it is very red here, very racist in the state of Nebraska. And yet I love it here.
So I was going to say, why are you still there?
I just told you, because of the people and because of the land. Here's something else. I have a connection with the Lakota tribe here in Nebraska. And some of the holy men are friends of mine. And even before they told me, I could feel it as a person. I like nature. There's a place out north called Neil Woods. It's sacred ground. When you go there, you can feel it like a hum. And then when I became familiar with, I forget his name right quick, he talked about that, the sacred places near the river, and how no matter what happens to the land, that sacredness is in the land. I feel it. I feel it. And there's beauty here. There's some really beautiful spots in Nebraska, in Omaha.
I'm speaking with Dereck Higgins right now. My name is William, High Arts on the Edge. If you have any questions for Dereck, you can put them in the comments box. We will take them. Tell me about an experience. Well, actually, you know what I want to ask you?
Sure.
If your father had not put you in that kind of mixed neighborhood, this is kind of a hypothetical.
Yeah.
How do you think your life would be different?
It would be different, W. It would absolutely be different, because when I moved over to the north side, where it was predominantly black, and number one, saw the difference in level of education, and also how most everyone had no experience outside of that community. Yeah, it's like, been a whole different world. You know what I mean? Really would. It's, I was able to see different perspectives, and also see white life. Okay, because in the ghetto there's a lot of white life. Like when I went to the all boys prep school, that was a real eye opener. I experienced things and qualities of life I would have never encountered just living on the north side.
Did you enjoy school growing up?
No, honestly, no. Mostly no. I like learning, but school sucked.
Why?
Because of several things. Let's be honest. The cruelty of people, okay? The cruelty of children, number one, okay? Added to that, the racist aspect, okay? You got to I see, some folks don't like to hear this. That's why I say it so strong. That racism, like I told you in our other conversation, was much more damaging to me than the sexual abuse that I went through. Extremely damaging.
Did you have close friends while going through these experiences?
Yeah, thank goodness, or else I'd be a hateful dude with an AK-47 shooting every white ass I saw.
Did you feel like teachers at all? Did you have any like inspiring teachers that?
Yes, thank goodness. There was a couple of Jesuits, as well as this black woman who taught Tess. I can't remember her last name. She was fantastic. She was so well mannered. Taught at this all boys white prep school, and she held it down. One of the Jesuits who made a strong impression on me left the Jesuits, Mr. Giambi. He really believed in his values, and he was living amidst all the controversy behind the scenes with the sexual abuse shit. You know what I'm saying? So thankfully to Mr. Giambi, he was one, and Miss Elliott, I think that's her last name. There were a couple that really stand out that were very helpful to me.
Have you gotten in touch with any of these people?
Yeah, I've been in touch with Mr. Giambi in the last 10 years. Yeah.
What was that like?
Fantastic. Fantastic. He hasn't changed. I hope he's still alive.
Yeah.
The other teacher, I think she passed away a while ago.
Tell us about the influence when did music start playing a role for you, and who kind of planted that seed?
My parents, and it was before I could talk. They loved to tell the story. And they started telling the story so early on in my life that I actually could remember what they were talking about. So my parents loved to tell a story about how when I was just a baby, in the crib, when they would play certain records, I would just animate. I would just start rocking and try to get up and dance. And those records were Wake Up Little Susie by the Everly Brothers and School's Out by Chuck Berry. Those were the two in particular. So I was activated by music before I could even talk. Yeah, yeah. It's always been my central interest. When I was a little boy, it was the days of radio as well as television, and we were poor. So I don't remember when we got our first television, but I could spend hours sitting on the floor in front of the big radio, right in front of the speaker, just fascinated with everything happening on the radio.
Did in terms of the like big bands like the Beatles, did you get into the Beatles at all?
It changed my life. They changed my life. But I do need to preface that was a big one. But the seed of music had been planted by my parents before that.
Okay.
And they were both musicians. My mom was ill, so she was not performing, but my dad was still performing, and he had a lot of jam sessions at the house. That's how I met people like John Coltrane. Dexter Gordon was at the house. Johnny Griffin, T-Bone Walker. I forget the names, Um, so so the music seed was already there. But when the Beatles appeared on Ed Sullivan, that was a cosmic moment, and we as a family were watching it. And I felt it as the kid when he said the Beatles and the girls screamed
Yeah,
on TV. Me and my sisters, we screamed with them. We don't even know what we felt it.
yeah.
Yeah, the Beatles changed my life. They are like a part of the ground zero for how I kind of see the world in many ways.
So how do you see the Beatles? What is it about them that really appealed to you and appeals to you now?
Somehow I could tell that music was mine, that they had this white skin, but they were singing to me and singing for me. I can't explain how I felt it, but I felt it almost immediately. And then when I started to hear about the Beatles talking about how they wouldn't play South Africa and they don't want segregated audiences, I knew it. I said, I could tell. These are real people. These are my brothers.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was that strong.
Is there a particular Beatles album that you would claim as their numero uno, their blue
No,
ribbon? No.
no, because everyone tries to say Revolver, but the thing is, the magic started happening before that. Rubber Soul has a lot of amazing things about it, but as a complete album, you couldn't say that. So it's just throughout their musical history. The first song of theirs that really struck me was "Do You Want to Know a Secret?" That was my first. That was the first one that really, really hit me. Not "She Loves You" or "I Want to Hold Your Hand." Actually, I did not like "I Want to Hold Your Hand" for a long time. Didn't even like the song.
And the Beatles, you still play the Beatles quite a bit?
Not quite a bit. They're part of my fabric,
Okay.
so they're in my collection. When I do play the Beatles, it's wonderful because it's not just nostalgic. The music is still alive. And so let me ask you, what about the Beatles for you?
In terms of my album,
Your life. Do they figure in your life?
yes and no. So the no part is growing up, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Hmm.
It wasn't until later in my life when I discovered Sergeant Pepper's.
Hmm. Hmm.
I just and of course that iconic album cover,
Yeah.
and then really started taking that deeper dive into their work.
Hmm.
And um, being a teacher, it's nice because the Beatles, it's so universal. So I could
Yeah.
put it on and I don't have to worry about little
See, that,
kids. What? What's that?
it's like I told you, it's universal. That it was something special. Very. We needed them. The Beatles came at the right time.
And I've been fascinated in watching, you know, Paul McCartney do his thing as a solo artist and Wings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It's amazing how revered they are
Hmm.
anywhere you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was telling you about my trip to a study abroad, and
Hmm.
I ran into two Beatle mania, just Beatle heads, and yeah, it's pretty insane. But
It is. It is. Yeah.
and I think it's and I when I get gifts from the students, right? So I got a lot of Beatles mugs and pencils and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Pretty cool. So
Yeah.
in terms of your, I want to know more about your father. I want to know
Sure.
how he sits inside you.
Well, it's I had to forgive my father, because he was a complicated man. He come from a background of his childhood was kind of rough, although he was very much loved. But my grandmother, I don't want to reveal too much. I have to think about this. He came up in a background where my grandmother helped run a brothel in Chicago. Okay. So just put that together in your mind that you're the son of a woman running a whorehouse.
Mhm.
Okay. So he was exposed to a whole lot of shit way before he should have been, that played out in his adult life in positive and negative ways.
Okay.
I'm so glad that I have the hindsight to see all of the gifts and the wonderful things that my dad gave me. But when I was a small boy, he wasn't sure I was his kid. I'm the smallest, I'm the darkest of the five kids. I
Okay.
was born when he was on the road. When he came back and saw me for the first time. So my dad is so light. He had red hair. He was able to pass for white when he was young.
Oh, really?
But there's
Okay.
a whole other story there. But so when he came back and saw me, and he was on the road in the band doing massive drugs and drinking. I can just imagine his mindset, which was like, "Hey man, what you been doing since I've been gone?" And that was a slight issue when I was growing up until teens. Just before he left, he said, "I just want you to know I accept you as my son. I know you are." I said, "I know I'm your son." And so it's a mixed bag like that. But ultimately, the positive and the love outweighs the negative. And there was a lot of negatives, and there were some real shitty things that went down because of my dad's. I will blame it on his drug abuse.
Okay.
I love the man, and I'm a lot like him, and have had to consciously choose not to be the part that I saw in him that's in me that uses people. That's what it was. He could get anything he wanted out of people. He was a smooth operator. He was a real good looking man, and he was a very good musician. And he would manipulate people, and I avoid that. You know, in my younger years, I messed with it, and it's like I don't like how this feels. I want to be honest. I want to be direct with people.
You've had a life of a very, obviously, very challenging episodes in your life. Where does forgiveness come from for you? You seem to have an understanding of people's ill behaviors.
Hmm. I credit that to being kind of a nerd. When I was a young kid, they thought I was retarded for a while. Okay. That's why I mentioned to you that I'm probably on the Asperger's spectrum somewhere. And I understand when I look back why people thought for a while. And I literally had to, around 6 or 7 years old, say to myself, okay, people aren't getting me. I need to show them something to let them know I'm here. So, with all of that sort of self awareness and awareness of the world around me and what's going on, I'm trying to put together what's really going on here, from a very early age. Plus, on top of that, being raised in the church with a lot of the Bible, I was taking the essence of the positive values that were in there, separate from all the weird stories, and I was trying to synthesize it ever since I can remember. It was, it just has always made sense to me. I just knew. Okay, I hope this helps. I knew that when we would be assaulted going to school as children by white people throwing rocks and saying, "Niggers, get out of here." It was so weird. I just knew inside that something's wrong with these people. It ain't me. Something is wrong with this picture. And so that's the essence of how I'm able to not lose my mind and realize the true nature of humans and have forgiveness, but also awareness. You know what I'm saying?
You don't have to delve into things that you have done wrong,
Hmm.
but I'm sure there's been moments of reflection where you've had to forgive yourself. Am I
Yeah. Yeah.
correct in saying that?
Oh, sure. Sure. And the other part of it is, and I'm happy to say this, and this is one thing that I learned from the church, is make amends. When you know you've done wrong and you have the opportunity to make amends, make amends. And I have made amends. Matter of fact, the last time that I had an opportunity out of the blue to make amends to someone I thought I had hurt, and I shared this with this person, they said, "Are you kidding me? We were kids." They laughed at me. So I've made amends, okay? I am at peace with who I am and the things I've done.
Tell us about a childhood experience that really sticks out in your mind, a positive one.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's so many. Maybe you want to be more specific. Is it in regards to people? Is it regards to nature? Is it in regards to where I lived?
All the above. Anything you want.
Well, the first one that always comes to mind for some reason is how beautiful sunshine looked to me as a child. The
Mm.
sun doesn't look the same to me. Hasn't for about 15, 20 years. The sunshine doesn't look the same. But even as I was growing, that intense yellowness of the sunlight in the morning, there was just something really wonderful about it for me as a child. Okay. That's
Do you,
one.
do you think that has anything to do with the lighting that you use for your videos?
I'm not sure. Oh, the yellowness?
Yeah.
Well, that's just because I sometimes I try to get it where it's more light, but it's because of this lampshade. So
Okay.
that's not conscious. I'd
Okay.
like it to be, you know, and sometimes I'll try to white balance it by putting something in the picture that's white, see if that makes it better. But so no, there's no connection there. Oh, I think another childhood memory, real positive one, is just going outside in the backyard and just screaming. Did
About
you ever?
what?
Well, not about anything, just because it felt good to scream. Didn't you ever do that as a little boy?
Like a big yawp? Sure.
That's what I'm talking about. It felt wonderful to just scream.
When was the last time you did that?
I was probably maybe 8, maybe.
You get back there and I want you to do it again after this conversation. Very cathartic, isn't it? Now, your scream, that probably you feel it through the music. And that's, I do want to talk about the music. So, we talked about music, that seed that was planted.
Mhm.
When did picking up an instrument happen for you?
Probably when I was 6 or 7. My dad was a musician. I was fascinated with him. He was my hero. And so I wanted to play. So the first instrument we tried was his first instrument was trumpet. I think I was maybe 7 or 8. I can't remember. It didn't go well. So then we moved to flute. I tried flute. That didn't match. So then we went to sax because my dad moved from trumpet to saxophone. That's
Okay.
what he was mainly known for. Saxophone was harder than anything. And then in 6th grade, um, I was given the choice of French horn. That was all that was left, and it ended up being the right instrument. So I played French horn through junior high and high school. That's when the music started. I started teaching myself how to play guitar underneath my older brother when I was about 14. He wouldn't let me play his guitar, so I would have to sneak when he was gone. That's how that started.
Your older brother, did you guys get along?
It's fractious. It was really tough. Just talked to him recently, and it's better now. But do you have siblings?
Mhm.
Okay, so then you probably know what I'm talking about. It's the older brother syndrome. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And the thing was, because I was so observant, I was already seeing, his weaknesses and flaws as well as his strengths. And he didn't like that, because I wouldn't take his bullshit. And my brother is an amazing artist, but he was also still is full of a lot of bullshit. So it was fractious, but I love him deeply. And we've recently, I'm going to try to call him again today to give him Terrace Martin's number, because it turns out that when my brother James moved to California originally, he stayed with Curly Martin, and when Terrace was a little boy, and it was really wonderful when Terrace Higgins, he just about knocked me over. I knew this would happen. That's why I've been wanting to meet him. So I love my brother, but it was tough. Now, just right quick, what about you? Brothers and sisters, how did you get along with yours?
So, older brother, younger brother. Um, I will say that one of the reasons I'm so vastly connected to music is because of my older brother,
Hmm.
and I greatly appreciate and love him for that, as he turned me on to Cocteau Twins, Clan of Zymox, a lot of that stuff, because he was a DJ at
Ah,
the
okay.
University of Virginia. So he would send me these tapes,
Oh, nice.
and he sent me one of his radio shows, like a 2 a.m. graveyard shift.
Hmm.
The first song was Blue Thunder by Galaxy 500.
Sweet, sweet.
And I was transitioning over from Thompson Twins,
Okay,
that kind
okay.
of stuff. And then I got the tape, put it in the little boom box, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is this?" My
Yeah,
mind was ready. I
yeah,
just didn't know how ready.
yeah. Cool, cool. So you're a middle child.
Yeah, that's why I smiled when you said that.
Yeah, we have that in common.
So your name, because the way that you said Higgins, you and I discussed about nicknames,
Hmm. Hmm.
and people call me W. You don't like nicknames. Why?
Yeah, particularly. There's one that I have to deal with regarding some music here in town. The bands Tilly and the Wall and Icky Blossoms. Are you heard of those bands? Okay, indie stuff. But anyway, the leader of those bands is from Atlanta. His name is Dereck, and he was kind of like the ringleader. And then I got involved with them through being in Sun Ambulance and getting involved with Saddle Creek. So Dereck was well established. So there I was Higgins. It made sense. So in that group, when I'm referred to as Higgins, I understand. Okay, but generally speaking, I like my name.
So did like when I grew up, because of Billy Martin, the baseball coach,
Hmm.
I used to get Billy Ball, and it'd drive me crazy.
Mm.
It would
Hmm.
absolutely drive me crazy.
Hmm.
But and then, as you alluded to in this conversation before, people kind of use it as a dig, right?
It can be. I think that's the thing to watch out for.
and they and they knew how to push my buttons really.
Hmm.
So for those of you who are watching, no, do not call me Billy Ball. um, okay, so the instrumentation. Did you ever take lessons when you were a kid?
Only on drums.
Only on drums.
Yep. Everything else is self-taught, and I can't read music. I don't understand music theory. That's another thing. I was just a little bit dyslexic as a kid, and it really showed up when I tried to learn how to read music. I'm still struggling with being able to actually read music. Yeah,
And well, and you also, I mean, your father, I'm sure he helped out quite a bit.
he tried to. He tried to, but it was all that part of it was intimidating to me because really, when it came down to it, inside all I wanted to do was play. I really wasn't interested in becoming a really good musician and practicing all the time. I wanted to play. I wanted the experience.
Did you have that moment, like I just explained to you about Galaxy 500 in high school, where you kind of crossed over to different styles, genres of music? Did you
Nope,
have that moment? No.
nope, nope. Because I've been thankfully because of my parents. Again, I credit my parents. When we were real little, they would buy those big encyclopedic volumes with all the different types of music and stuff. So they exposed us early on to the classics, to opera, to musicals, and so I mean, I already felt the magic of music. So genre has never been an issue for me. I like music of all sorts. I feel blessed in that sense that I was listening to all kinds all the time.
Mhm.
And one of the times it was a conflict with other people was when punk rock happened at the late 70s, because I was listening to everything. And all of a sudden, it wasn't cool to listen to what I liked, but I was listening to punk as well. And I said, this is bullshit. And you people are lying. You're still listening to Van de Graaff Generator. You guys are still secretly listening to Genesis. And you're saying that, and yes, and you're saying that they're passe. That's bullshit. Music is music. And so, no, it was always a wide open for me, always.
Did you have friends that kind of ran in that circle with you in terms of music? No.
Nobody could keep up with me, and that's not an ego statement.
Yeah.
But I had friends who aligned with the King Crimson and Genesis.
Mhm.
I had my punk rock friends. I had my Beatles friends, and in the hood with the other black musicians that I was coming up around with my brother and stuff, there was the whole funk Miles Davis thing, and so it would be I would share different interests with different groups of people.
Did you play any house parties or gigs in high school with buddies or anything?
I first played my first show I think my senior year of high school. Before that, I was in dance groups, in talent shows with my sisters and also friends, and we did things like Imitation Temptations and stuff. So it was in high school when I had my first opportunity to play actual rock instruments. Yeah.
Are there any YouTube clips of those dances?
No, that's a long time ago, my friend. I kind of wish, I still like to dance. I love rhythm.
And in high school, did you play? I don't remember asking you this off air. Did you play sports?
Yeah, I was in track. I was a runner and a long distance runner, a long distance jumper.
Yeah.
But I didn't play team sports like basketball. I was terrible at basketball. I like to play flag football, but I never wanted to be on a team. And after a while with track, I quit because I did not like how coaches would push you to do better, but many times at the sacrifice of the individual, where you'd actually be hurting the child and don't realize you're pushing them, but you don't realize part of what you're doing is traumatizing the kid. So I was aware of that partially because of what I told you about the way I've been thinking all along. And at that point, I quit track. I walked off of a meet in the middle of the meet. I needed to make a statement. I said, "You're pushing me too hard. Fuck you."
And you just left.
Yeah, I walked off the field right before my event. I
Did
said,
he try? Did he or she try to get you back?
"Yeah," and it was a whole big controversy afterwards. And I stood my ground. I stood my ground. I said, "I've been hurt enough. You making me out here run this because I didn't have shoot." The deal was, I was poor, and so I didn't have proper running shoes. When it's time for the meet, I didn't have no track shoes, so they had to give me what they could give me. The track shoes they gave me to compete in were too small for my feet, and they really hurt. I did several events, and my feet were killing me.
Mhm.
And so before this one, where I could barely stand to to stand up in these shoes, and they're still expecting me to perform. I said, "Fuck this." I took the shoes off and threw them and just walked off. Walked off, and I don't regret it. I don't regret that at all.
So after high school, what'd you do?
Well, I tried to go. It's a mixed bag. So out at prep, the jebs that made an impression on me made me think, well, maybe since the Baptist thing isn't really what I want, but I'm supposed to be spiritual, maybe I'll try to be a Jesuit. So I converted to Catholicism and started courses to become an acolyte to apply for the Jesuit. So that was happening along with my wild drug. uh, it's all quite confused as life really is. So here I am trying to wrestle with the spiritual religious thing. Had been introduced to drugs, doing a lot of drugs. I was just coming out of at 14, 15, being a member of the Black Panther Party, okay, trying to learn about advocating for my people. And so right out of high school, I tried to go to college, and that's when I went to Albuquerque and moved down there to stay with my dad because he had left Omaha.
Okay.
And I never attended a day of class in college down there. I was I went down there and just really got lost in drugs and partying. Um, Escaped and came back to Omaha and then continued with school. And then one thing to another led to me getting involved with the mental health system and working at a runaway center, a children's home, in hospitals and at community centers.
As you were going through the drug experience, I did you know at that time, like, okay, this probably isn't a good thing, but I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this.
I wouldn't. I don't think I had a thought like that. No. Let me be honest. I think the thing that got me to chill out was just when it was just overindulging to the point that I wasn't enjoying it. Kind of like people who drink, you kind of start and it starts one place, and then the next thing you know, you're kind of caught. But it wasn't until say I was a polysubstance user, okay, and cocaine was the thing that got me to chill out because I almost lost everything,
Oh,
to cocaine, because I was dealing it as well as doing it, okay. But I did not. It was not a moral issue. Doing drugs isn't necessarily wrong. It's hurting yourself is what's wrong, and that's That was the point I had to get to. It's like, man, this isn't working. Damn, I can do
So
better
when,
than this.
so when was that moment?
When I almost lost my first home to cocaine because I was behind in payments to the coke man. He was saying, man, you didn't get my money. You ain't gonna be here. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, I was just at the point of paying that first house off with drug money. I don't mind saying. So see, I was this delicate balance, And my lawyer said, "Bro, I can't do nothing for you, man. You got to cough up this money, or you out of here." And so I forget how I did it, W, but I managed to save the house and cut off the cocaine dealing within a year. Saved my ass, and I don't even know how many years it's been. It's been over 30 years since I've done cocaine. You couldn't even tempt me with it.
You miss it at all?
What the fuck? What are you talking about? You ever done it?
No.
Okay, so then you don't know. It's very sexual. Okay. Oh, you didn't know that, did you?
Well, I've heard from a few people.
Okay. So at first it's a cool ride, but the thing is after a while it's agitation. And then also when your dopamine gets so low that there's nothing for the coke to bind with to get you high again, you're just empty and you become agitated, and that's where all these weird coke crimes come from. So hell fuck no, I don't miss that shit.
Did you become some people who have done that experience have gotten off of that and gone to coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Coffee a good friend of yours?
Well, I loved coffee before that, but it doesn't have anything to do with the cocaine.
In terms of you, I mean, I'm learning just a tremendous amount, and I keep hearing this word survivor in my head.
Mm-hmm.
A survivor. You've been on so many different paths here. At that time when you were going through that experience, did you have someone on the other side that was kind of helping, guiding you?
No.
Nobody.
I had love. I knew I was loved. This is what you got to understand. Because see, there's this narrative that is mainstream where they say always have help, always have help, always have help, and that's true. But there's not enough talked about, in my opinion, about how you can fucking help yourself and do a little bit of self-examination, do some reading, try to find some shit out for yourself. The thing that I learned early on, and it's still true, W, is that as much as anyone cares about you and loves you, they're never doing your agenda. They're never caring about you the way you care about yourself. And so even though I had some supports, and it wasn't that someone was there for me. No, I knew I was loved, but this was me struggling with my own shit. So that I want to say that because a lot of people always want to say, well, who was the one that helped you? And it's like, I helped myself, bitches. I think some of y'all need to hear that more. There was help, but I was determined as I was losing my grip at different times. It's like, Dereck, what the hell is wrong with you? Okay.
And now those moments of losing the grip, how did music play a role there?
Music was very important. The last time I tried to commit suicide and I almost succeeded, the thing that I found myself grasping at is like, why do I want to live? I don't want. It was music. It wasn't people. I mean, I love my family, but it was honestly, I remember this. I was slightly comatose for several days.
How old were you?
19, 18, 19. See, this is such a mix. And see, I get confused with times. It might have been 2021. I'm not sure, okay? But I ended up at my brother's kind of commune hippie house. He lived with a bunch of guys and women. And I had OD'd at my mom's house. And when it started to take effect, I realized oh shit, I really did it. I'm not so sure about this. I made it to their place, okay? And when I would come in and out of consciousness, because they had to take care of me, feed me, take me to the bathroom and everything. The thing that I wanted to stick around for was music.
Did you hurt a lot of people?
I don't know. I don't think so. But I don't know. Do you mean by the
family members?
Oh, mean by the suicide attempt?
Yeah.
Actually, my brother's the only one who knew about that. My older sister, who I'm very close with, just found out about it less than a year ago from seeing me talk about it. She had no idea. So no, No, nobody was directly hurt by that. I was hurting myself.
Okay, so
Man,
wow.
you're asking some cool questions, W.
Well,
We we are not even talking about music yet. I hope we haven't lost anybody.
no, I mean but see, the music is running parallel. That's
Yeah,
I'm trying to take your life and then keep the music running side by side with you
I love
because
it.
I know that's an important band member of your life. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. This is cool. I'm enjoying the conversation very much.
Uh, and if you have any questions for Dereck, go ahead, post them.
Please.
Uh, okay, so 18, 19, this effort to take your life,
Mhm.
and that was in Albuquerque or not?
Omaha, Omaha. I was back in Omaha.
You were
So
back.
okay. So was this before Albuquerque? This is after Albuquerque.
Okay. Tell me about Albuquerque. I know very little about it.
Well, my dad, because of his light skinnedness, he got along really well with uh, Mexicans and people of color because people thought he was. Some people thought he was Mexican. Other people thought he was white. Had freckles. My dad had freckles and red hair, very light skin.
Mhm.
So when I went down there to live with him and my grandmother, he lived in the valley in a, and it was just all Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? So I really got a direct taste of that culture. Interestingly, I made some really good friends because, well, I'll go into that. But anyway, because I got down there and started partying with these people, you know, but when it's time to go to school, when it was time for the semester to start, it was the last thing on my mind. I was having a good time down there. I didn't play any music, but I did meet some musicians, but I never got as far as playing music down in Albuquerque. And it didn't last down in Albuquerque quite a year, and I came back to Omaha. And it honestly, I needed to get back to Omaha to kind of save myself because I was a mess down in Albuquerque.
So you come back to Omaha, then what?
Then I start working and I will go to school, and that was for architecture because I like drawing, and I was thought I would might want to do that. So I came back, even though I was still, poly substance stuff, but I went to school, and then the whole music thing where I'm playing developed, and it's a bit of a fog how things went, but I got back and I started playing all the time, basically.
Tell us about that.
Well, the first band was through a childhood friend, Alan Hicks, um, and we were big into music as kids, and they were among the cool white kids in my neighborhood. Okay, so senior year of high school, we reconnected because I'd gone to the boys' school, but my senior year I ended up going to a public school for a number of reasons. And so we started this band, and I had to borrow a bass, but we loved a lot of the same music. So started this band called Restricted, and we're playing everything from Moody Blues to King Crimson to Ted Nugent to Bob Seger, and it just kept, just went from there, band to band to band.
You enjoy being on that stage?
I love it. I love to perform. I love to play for people. I love the kinetic energy that you raise with the other musicians when the music is right. It it's an amazing feeling. There is no drug to compare to it, and it doesn't compare to sex, but it is ecstatic in that sense.
Mhm. And do you like to improvise? Are
I
you
love to improvise. I love to improvise, and I'm known for it actually here in Omaha.
Is there an art to improvisation?
Totally an art to it, And the number one thing, there's two things that I learned. There's
Yeah.
more, but there's two big ones. First one is
Tell.
first one is to listen. The first thing to do is to listen.
They say that in acting. Listen.
Yes, yes. Um, you say you don't play music. You were never in a band or anything.
Oh, no, no, no.
Okay, so you don't know the experience of getting together with people and trying to play music. And one of the first things that you encounter with people is people will be self-absorbed. And here you are trying to make a band, but most of the people are just thinking about their part and what they want. You know what I'm saying? So thankfully, this is from old school jazz musicians that I learned this, is that you listen so that you can find out what the music wants, not what your ego wants. Okay. And then the second thing that I learned is that in improvisation, you listen. It's not important to follow anyone. It's important to establish what it is, your role in what's happening, and then commit to it.
And feel free to, for lack of a better term, I tell this to my students, while you're improvising, get lost in that and don't worry, don't get so hung up on making mistakes.
Correct, correct. Because the mistakes is where a lot of the beauty comes from.
Yeah.
That's why you say listen and respond. Listen and respond, but at the same time, don't get caught up in following. Responding is different than following because I can tell when like people will say they're improvising and somebody will start something and the next thing you know, everybody's just following that as opposed to responding to it and letting it go to the next place it's going to go.
You like other forms of art,
I love,
cinema, literature, like
yes, I do. I read all the time. I don't watch movies. I've worked on movies, but I'm not big into TV. I like documentaries. I read and I don't like. I'm not into fiction like I was in a kid. I like to read stuff that helps me to have a good perspective.
in terms of documentaries, are any that kind of stand out in your mind?
Oh man, I love music documentaries. I just watched the one on Big Star.
Oh, I have not watched that yet. And
Yeah, it's good, and it's also it's tragic because I kind of thought that Chris Bell was the actual magic person, not Alex Chilton, and
uh-huh.
it tells the story of how Chris died forgotten, and the whole deal of the wickedness of the music industry, how Alex Chilton was seen as a golden goose as a boy. And so that's why we know about Alex Chilton. And it almost destroyed him.
Were there ever moments that you almost got pulled into that music industry?
Yes. And that's why I'm here because it's like I was studying it. That's one of the big things about the Beatles and Beatlemania is that as time kept going on, I wanted to understand what it is about this phenomenon of music and the effect on people in life. What is it that I want from it? Okay. And over time, it wasn't that I wanted the fake adulation. It wasn't the girls. It was a sense of being recognized for what you do well. And so the first band, Restricted, here's a story. The first band I was in, Restricted, we were getting going. Our guitar player was much older than me and Alan. He was in his 20s. We were still teenagers. And somehow he hooked up with a managing team that said they wanted to manage us. I would suspect right away, here come these old bald-headed white guys in red suits and white shoes. And I'm saying, what? Okay. So anyway, Bill was really gung-ho that these guys had a track record and they were going to get us going. So I was kind of going for it. And then these guys brought these contracts to a practice where we were going to sign to have them be our management. And as the other guys are starting to sign, one of the bald-headed guys with glasses, really ugly motherfucker, he didn't even wait. He said, "So whose dick can I suck first?" That plain. I said, "I'm out of here."
Wow.
I quit the band on that moment. Alan, if you see this, you remember, bro. That was some bullshit. I was still underage.
Mm.
And this is how the industry goes to this day. So I'm not interested in the music industry. I'm interested in art and music. And I like making records. I didn't want to be a big star in a fake way. I wanted to be recognized for being good and to experience, which I have. I wanted to experience the life of a working musician, gigging, playing on the local scene, making things happen, getting out and touring, um, getting people interested in your music to the point that they're offering to put your records out, and then doing that, traveling the world. I've been to Europe and Japan and stuff with music. So that's what I wanted, and I have it.
How has the music industry, not the one that we tend to think of, but just in general, how has it changed? over the last 10, 20, 30 years? What have you seen?
Well, with the advent of the internet and people really becoming savvy with it and being able to create your own content, we saw the dismantling of the big um, budgets and A&R people at this, because that was a big waste of money, where you would be paying the middleman to do this and do that, and they're wasting a lot of money. And that was really the downfall of many of the bigger companies. So those engines still exist to a degree, but but it's thankfully, and this is what I've done, is like, through technology, anyone can create content and explore establishing your own voice. And that's what's changed. Back in the 60s and 70s, it was like this hallowed ground that only special people could make records and be rock stars and stuff. And that's changed. People make. Billie Eilish is a perfect example. She was a huge rock star, a huge star, period, and from making tracks in her bedroom with her brother.
Mhm. Have you always been a vinyl enthusiast?
Yeah, but in the 90s when CDs came out, I was fascinated as a little kid. Once again, I was fascinated by the technology around records, tape recorders, the whole deal. So when CDs came out, like a lot of people, I started to sell my vinyl and replace. And then towards the end of the 90s, it was like, okay, I'm sorry I did that. You know,
Are there any giveaways you're like, oh man, I wish I had not
yeah,
done?
several. My residence collection. I had some early I had some early Beatles stuff and some really rare psychedelic records and Joy Division, they're one of their first EPs, the factory sampler. I had that. I sold that. Yeah, I'll be honest, I regret it now, but I was at a state.
When did you start getting into the YouTube showing sharing your enthusiasm?
I guess it was about 12 years ago. Um, you know, just rooting around on YouTube as I first discovered it, just trying to get familiar with it. Um, I remember, I guess I probably just punched in record collecting in a search, and I came across a couple videos of people literally just showing their record collection. I said, "Whoa, that's what I want to do." So that's how it got started. And then the thing that got me to start, I got to give credit to Brandon, Mr. Hall of Fame. He was the first Black person that I saw doing the vinyl community thing, and that's when I just said, "Okay, I'll show my face." You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and from what I've seen, a lot of the clips, if you don't mind me saying,
Don't mind it.
there hasn't been a lot of variation. You're
Mhm.
just, good morning, everyone. I'm drinking
Yeah.
my coffee. How you doing?
Right. Right.
I'm feeling like crap today, or I'm feeling
Right.
happy.
Right.
And
See, that's kind of what.
was that intentional that you just want to just be you, whatever, how emotive you were or are?
Well, the best way to answer it is that I've just never had an agenda. To me, one of the things that really made an impression on me as a young person is people who are honest and truly honest and have self integrity are the kind of people I want to be around. And that's how I want to be. And if I want that from other people, I have to be that myself. Okay. So it wasn't a conscious choice that I'm going to do this. This is just the way I am. This is the way I am
What do you
for the
really
longest.
what do you really love about what you do on YouTube? Is it when people message you and go, "Oh, I didn't know that," or "Thank you for sharing that"?
Yeah, I like that. I also like where people, this has been very, I'm really happy that this is happening because I talk about anything and I talk about human issues. I get a I get a steady stream of people letting me know that the conversation, what I've said, something that I did, help them, help them. That means a lot.
And I bet you have met some amazing people along the way,
Oh man.
and they're sharing their love for the arts or whatever it may be. Is it with your YouTube shows? Is that something that you go, okay, this morning, or I'm going to talk about this? Do you do a lot of pre-planning, or is it just kind of the improv again?
Well, at different times when I wake
Okay.
up, I'll think, okay, this is what I want to share, or this is what recently happened, or these are the records that I just got to share. Um, Not too much pre-planning. It's really based on what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's pretty spontaneous. It is.
So how the heck do you do all that? And then you told me you have like 4 or 5 projects
Yes,
right now.
yes.
Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, because well, the reason why it's like that is because I don't watch TV.
Hmm.
W, are you aware of how much people sit in front of a TV?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
I know a few people in my life.
exactly. So here at my house, it's the screen that I'm sitting in front of, and is this one. A lot of times working or doing something else, either creative or of interest to me. And so that's how I'm able to be busy, is because I'm not watching TV or just wasting time sitting at a bar or absent-mindedly smoking pot. I don't do those things anymore. Okay. So I'm activated by the things that I do. I love them, you know. I'm just trying to wrap up this record with Blake and Cubby. Thought we were done last week, and we got a little bit more to do. That's on my schedule today. When I'm done talking to you, because I have mixing and editing to do on the Blake Cubby project. I'm finalizing artwork on the Brian Day collaboration that's going to come out on his label, Public Eyesore.
Okay.
That's going to be a sound tapestry, not songs. So we're putting that together now, and getting the artwork together, finding the person to master. Okay, I have this next solo album that is still scheduled to come out this year. I'm not actively working on it, but it's basically done. I just need to tie it all together and get the artwork together. Okay, and the David Nance band, that's all recorded, but we're getting ready to do a professional music video for it, and that's going to be coming out in July on a. To me, it's a big label, but I can't say yet because David's not talking about it. To me, I'm very excited. I'm going to be on this label, but I can't. I don't want to say it until he says it. But when I tell people that I'm going to be on this label, it's going to be pretty cool.
How the
Everybody
hell,
knows this label.
how the hell do you keep it all together? I mean, all the scheduling. You must.
Well, I keep the drama down. I'm single. You know, it completely goes in parallel to why I almost could have become a Jesuit or a monk. Okay, I have a lot of love in my life. I have women in my life, but I don't have a girlfriend. I'm not gay. I don't have a boyfriend. Okay. So I don't have that drama, which takes up a lot of people's energy and time. So I can focus on what I'm really interested in.
In terms of making an album, what is it that about that process that you really loathe?
I don't know that waiting, waiting for it to be manufactured. That's it. Other making it, the whole process of making the record and having it all come together mentally. Now I see this as a project. These go together. Now it's looking. See that I love the process. Then when you're done and you're waiting to get it back, that's excruciating.
It's amazing to me. I've talked to many artists, and they talk about the process of making the music, making the album, and I shake my head every time, thinking, how the hell does an album even get made? There are so many moving parts to it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's astounding. Would you
it is.
agree with that?
I agree. It is. It's quite a process, and I'm so happy that I've been able to make records because it is very involved, almost kind of dangerous too for people who are actually working in the pressing plants. One of the pressing plants that pressed up one of my albums, Sonospheres, it was a small plant in Tennessee,
Uh-huh.
and I did this record through them because I wanted a small run quickly. Unfortunately, the man, his pressing plant, it blew up on him and killed him. Yeah, I found this out like less than a year after they'd done my album. So it's dangerous.
Wow. Do you remember that pressing plant? Was it Los Angeles?
No, it was in Tennessee, somewhere in Tennessee. I'd have to look it up. There
No,
are
but there's one I feel like down south. couple of years ago that caught on fire or something like that. If someone wants to correct me, I'd love that.
I think that sounds right, but it's probably not this one. This one, the place blew up and he died. It's there. It's over. It's done. You might have been talking about United pressing that the pressing plant that Jack White bought, possibly, because that's down. Originally, that was down south, and he's reestablished it up in Detroit now.
You know so much about the vinyl community. You're part of it. You're enmeshed in it. You're imbued in it. I've spoken to many artists about the love for vinyl. However, they have seen how crazy it's gotten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's pretty bad. I've been waiting for my RAF record. We finally got the test pressing for this album,
Nice.
RAF, and it was supposed to. We were supposed to have them in December. We just now got them in March. We've approved it, but we still can't get a date on when to expect the records. It's just so bogged down, and I'm glad that Metallica bought a pressing plant. That will help. But it's really bogged down because the demand for vinyl is off the charts. It is.
It's so bogged down. Artists are now just, you know what? I'm just going to do CDs.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing with the Blake and thing. Is we're going to make a CD, and if it does well enough, I'll seek a vinyl edition of it. I just like records, you know. But yeah, we want to get this music out, so we're going to make a CD ourselves.
Have you done some touring around the States?
I played in over 40 of the states.
Any particular standouts that you like? Oh yeah.
Well, I'd never want to live there, but I sure do like to play New York. It's electric. I like New York, but I probably had the most fun on a human level with the music in Japan and in Denmark.
I'd love to get to Japan.
It's fantastic.
Is it?
It was nothing what people told me. They said, "Oh, you're not going to like Japan. They don't like black people over there." That was bullshit. They don't like Americans. They treated me like a king. I didn't want no geisha, so I didn't get that, but I could not refuse. They said, "You must have a girlfriend," and all this stuff. It was just wild. I was there for 2 months. It was fantastic.
You like the food?
I ate nothing but Japanese and Chinese, and I insisted. I said, "Don't cook me no damn American food because I'm American. I want to eat what y'all eat." And that's my favorite cuisine is African, Indian, and Japanese. Those are my preferred cuisines.
Can we talk about some albums that you're recommending right now?
Yeah, baby, let's do it. Chameleons.
I'd love this is how I started this conversation. Oh, by the way, Damon says Hummingbirds from Down Under quit after one album since it was too much work, too hard.
Gotcha. I know who he's talking about.
Was this an early dream pop band?
No, Hummingbird. If he's talking about the band I'm thinking of, they were related to Jeff Beck.
Okay.
Bob Tench.
Okay.
Bob Tench. Yeah.
Someone says much respect for both of you. Unfortunately, I have to go. Very interesting talk. Damon also says Curly Martin, rest in peace. Okay.
Thank you.
So, as I started out our conversation, my love for the Chameleons. Finally, I saw Mark play 2 months ago in San Francisco.
Yeah.
In a small place called Bottom of the Hills. It was really
I played there. I played there.
Oh yeah? What'd you think of it?
I had a good time there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had fun.
So before we go into a deeper dive of some albums that you're going to recommend, let's go back to the Chameleons. I want to know more. I mentioned that you said they have soul. There's great soul in their music.
Yeah.
Tell me more about your love for this band.
Well, I'm not even sure exactly how I first heard them. I've always followed the music news from England very, very dedicatedly, like reading Sounds, New Musical Express, anything else I could get. Yeah. So it was probably through that I first became aware of them. I heard their first album, What Does Anything Mean, basically? Is that the first one?
Script of the Bridge.
Script of the Bridge. That's the first one I heard, okay? I was just knocked out. I was knocked out because of the sonics, number one, of the music. The sonics because I listen to the music more than the words, always, okay? But when the words started to come through, but even before the words, it was the tenor of Mark's voice, the way he's singing. It's like, man, this guy really means this. And the music really matched it. It was so panoramic. It's like, yeah, I was hooked, you know?
Do you, I don't remember song titles unless they repeat them over. So people
Same
go,
here.
what's the name of that song? I'm like, ah,
Same here. Same here.
okay. But there are obviously songs from these albums, from well, particularly Script of the Bridge, like Monkey Land,
Mm-hmm.
Up the Down Escalator, which I
We
know.
used to cover that. I used to cover that in my band Digital Sex. We covered it.
What was that like?
Well, I loved it. We played it as best as we could.
Yeah.
You know, I do have some recordings I was playing that.
Has Mark heard it?
The first time I played with him and we hung out over here at the house, I did share a lot of stuff with him, but I didn't go that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I had a hell of a time. He was in this room here with me, freaking out on these records. He did. He did. He freaked out. Let me see if I can just pull it right quick. He couldn't believe that I had this. Just give me 1 second. Oh, yeah. Yeah, when he saw this in my collection, he flipped. The Passage. Do you know this band?
No.
What?
I told you before, there's so much to learn from you.
What? The Passage. They were so good, so above average. That's why you don't hear about them. Mark flipped out. Fucking I, Dick quits. And he just went on. He knows this guy, but the guy is classically trained, older than the other people.
Yeah.
And so this is keyboard oriented, not guitar. But you have not heard songs like this, and they will stay with you.
So tell us about them. What is like
The Passage. So like Magazine, you know the band Magazine?
yeah.
Okay, it's in that, it's kind of in that territory. This is some badass music. That
Where
was so much fun. That was so much fun.
where are they from?
Manchester. That's why Mark knows them. They're people. Here's another one by Passage. He flipped out. He said, "What the hell are you doing with these records in Omaha?" We had a blast. We had a blast over here.
Just sifting through the records.
Oh, just talking about everything. Matter of fact, I pissed him off. This is good. I pissed him off because, yeah, I really am a nerd. So somehow I acquired some early cassette demos of the Chameleons.
Yeah.
And so I thought I would see how this would be something cool to share. So I put it on while we're talking and drinking. And what the fuck is this stuff? And I said, oh yeah, I was able to acquire these. And he thought I was trying to make fun of him because of the amateurish sound on the tapes. My whole thought is, I'm really proud to have these early recordings of yours. So we had to discuss that because his immediate response was, as an artist, like, oh shit, listen to me. I'm off key. This is really embarrassing. You trying to embarrass me, Higgins?
Now, and did you played with them on stage?
Twice, yeah. Last year I played with him again. Last year he came through Omaha and I played the song "Tears" with him.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
That's one of my favorite songs by them. Yeah,
so
it means a lot to me that I got to play that with him a second time.
can you give us a little bit of a slice of that feeling?
Well, I wish I could share the video. He asked me not to share the video.
Sure.
It is surreal because this goes back to the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
The songs by the Beatles and also any of the other musicians when I was a kid, the ones that you love, there's this magic about them, okay? And Strange Times is one of those albums. It's like there's not a bad song on that album. It's amazing. And when the single came out, I bought the 12-inch single. I just played it to death because it just meant so much to me. It was so beautiful. It made me cry at times, okay? So the first time I played it with him back in, I think, 2006, I didn't make it through the song. I cried on stage playing it with him. I couldn't help it, okay? This time, it wasn't like that, but it was still surreal. There he is sitting there, and here I am playing it, And there's the guitar player who's now in the Chameleons, and I'm basically being a chameleon for the night for a song. don't get no better.
No. God, what an experience.
I feel blessed. I've had several experiences like that with other musicians, and it's just there's nothing like it. And yeah,
Is that intimidating at all?
it used to be, not anymore. But of course, in back in the day, yes, but not anymore. Not for quite a while now. I said it in our introductory conversation. I feel like I'm one of them, even though I'm not acclaimed and I don't have this and that. But I'm a musician. I'm an artist. I make good music. This is what the main part of my life is. I'm one of them. I am. So I'm not intimidated. No. When I met Nile Rodgers, one of the greatest producers of all time. Yeah. When I met him, he was ready to just have a quick moment of, yeah. And I spoke and he looked at me and he sat down and we talked for almost a half an hour. Kind of like what happened with you and me. It's like a couple things are said and it's like, we have something and there's something to talk about here. That was pretty cool. That happened with Nile Rodgers and a few other people, cherished memories.
Where did you meet Niall? Was that in Omaha?
Yeah, Chic was opening for Cher.
Okay.
And a woman friend of mine had befriended Kim, who's in Chic, when she went on a cruise. So she had free tickets to see Chic open for Cher. But on top of that, Kim got her backstage passes for me and this woman because I was her date. But when we get down there and we meet Kim, I love this because it's the synergy of she just kind of like picked up on me right away. And she says, "Oh, we got to fix this." She gave me a musician's pass. She gave me a band pass. So I not only got to go backstage, but I got to go hang out with the band.
Do you get starstruck at all?
You
get that feeling of like, oh shit, I don't know what to say here.
That's not anymore. But the one time it happened in recent years was when I was talking to Adrian Belew and Robert Fripp came in the room, and I just okay.
Holy cow!
And he comes right over to us like this, I just didn't know what to say. So I got to hang with Robert Fripp, but I was intimidated. That's one time I was really intimidated. I was.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But other times it's been pretty cool. When I met Todd Rundgren, that was really cool. I tried to get backstage at a Prince concert, got backstage, got my ass kicked out. I was on my way to meet Prince. I was determined, but they caught me.
You just tried to crawl your way through. What happened?
The big guy, the big white-haired guy, his main bodyguard, he caught sight of me, and as I'm trying to get to I just want to give him my record. He said, he cut out. I'll give him your record. He grabbed my record and he broke it in front of me and just collared me and just kicked me out. I don't resent Prince for that.
Did you ever read the Sinead O'Connor book where she has the episode with Prince?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised.
So, I mean, it's the way she describes that experience. It's hilarious, but you're like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
This is utterly crazy. Any other albums you want to share? Anything from your collection?
Well, just real quick. This is one for you shoegaze people. Have you heard of Isolation Ward?
No, I have not. You're sharing all the goodies that I don't know of. Okay, tell us about it.
Well, this is a band from Belgium. They only made one record. It didn't do anything. This is on the see, it's not Slow Dive.
Okay.
But when you hear this, you know what I mean. This is a classic. And it didn't sell shit. And I don't know why. I would put it on now, but the fidelity is not going to be any good.
Yeah.
I
love that art cover.
It sounds like this.
Okay.
It's really amazing. And then through Facebook, several years later, I saw they had a presence. So I messaged them. And they were real. They said, well, we're glad that you like it, but they didn't sell shit. We still have boxes in the closet, So that's one for the shoegazers that I want to share right quick. You know, I could just look back here if you want right quick and pull something because is there a type of music you want me?
No,
Okay, so
just grab anything you want and be like, I don't care.
well, okay,
Anything
so
that moves.
well, let's go ahead and go with something recent that Ladytron. Do you know the band Ladytron?
Yes, they're coming to the. They're on a world tour right now.
Cool. I would like to see them. I wouldn't go to another town to see them, but I'd like to see them. I really like this new album.
Yes.
I like what they do a lot. Okay.
Yes. They're
Now,
from Manchester or
yeah,
Liverpool. Okay. Okay.
Liverpool or Manchester, one of those two for sure. Um, let's go over here and see what we got here. Okay, because I mean, I can just go in any
Look at
direction.
that library. My goodness.
Do you know the band Tongue? Tongue.
No.
Okay, this is a little more on the electric folk side of English rock.
Okay.
Man, this is fucking good. Tongue. Good arrows.
How do you? Okay. So why you keep sharing? How do you keep up with all this stuff?
It's my main interest. This is what I do on the internet. This is the trawling that I do on the internet. Is I have a bookmark of a bunch of music sites
Yep.
and magazines that
Yep.
I regularly visit Monday through Friday, and I don't hang out in record collect stores like I used to. That was another way that in my early days I would literally go through and look at every single record in the store. Okay, have you ever done that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so see, so that was another way that I would acquire this information. Okay, rice music, Masami Tuchiya. Now you know about David Sylvian and Japan, right? And Porcupine Tree and all that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Masami Tuchiya is from Japan, guitar player. He toured with Japan. This album, Rice Music, has many members of the band Japan on it, as well as my favorite musician, Ryuichi Sakamoto, and others. This is killer.
When was that released?
This is 80s, 1982. 1982. It's fucking killer.
Uh,
Serious.
who produced that? Does it say on the back there?
Yeah, it's produced by Masami Tuchiya.
Okay.
He had a band called Ippudu. Ippudu. They're pretty good. They were called the pop side, J-pop, kind of J-pop.
God, your mind is. I mean, you just go boom, 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 boom.
It's my primary interest. It really is. I mean, like some folks could do this with porn, but you know what I mean. See, I'm busting people. The reason why I seem like such a nerd is because this is what I'm doing. Unlike a lot of so-called normal people who really do spend a lot of time looking at porn and a lot of just bullshit. And I'm not into organized sports. I hate organized sports. So I don't watch sports. So that doesn't waste my time.
I want to know quickly before we wrap this up. I want to know your thoughts. Record Store Day.
Don't like it.
Yeah.
And I actually met and am vaguely familiar with one of the people who was on the committee that dreamed up Record Store Day. And he is completely sorry. It did not do what they had originally intended for it to do. It was completely hijacked by the idea of money. Oh, we can make money. The whole idea was to raise the profile of independent record stores, and it's almost totally backfired. So I buy Record Store Day releases when it's something I really want, but it's just again the wickedness of commerce, which is the bottom line.
So,
I just hate that.
so you don't I assume there's several record stores in Omaha?
Not several, but there are a few, and I know them all. Yeah.
So you don't get up at 6 a.m. to line up with all the.
No, I did it once, and I'll never do it again. I did it once, and I didn't even get the record I wanted. I said, "Fuck this. This is bullshit. This is the opposite of what we really want."
What about Okay, so what about concerts? I want to know your feeling. Like, tell us some special concerts you've been to.
Okay, because I don't go to much shows anymore. I've been to a lot, and I have been to a lot. My first concert was seeing the Sir Douglas Quintet, Doug Sahm, famous Texas musician.
Okay.
Um, they had a big hit in the '60s called "She's About a Mover." You ever heard that? She's about a mover.
It's
With an
not like
organ.
I can click to it.
Yeah, well, that was my first. That was my first concert. Fantastic. Um, Second one, I'll answer your question, but the second one was Blood Rock. I'm kind of setting it up. Blood Rock. They had that big hit DOA. This is maybe a little before your time, maybe. I don't know. So those were two of my first concert experiences, and I was smitten. I love music anyway, because I was seeing a lot of it live in my home.
Yeah.
So I started going to concerts dedicatedly when I could afford to, or when my rich white friends would buy me a ticket. Okay, and standouts immediately are every time I saw Peter Gabriel, incredible. Um, yeah, yeah. I've never met him, but I got to touch him. He came out into the audience, and he walked on my table, and I just reached up, touched his thigh, and he grabbed my hand for a second. So I've touched Peter Gabriel, but I haven't met him. Okay, I've seen him in concert 6 times. Some other notables, Susie and the Banshees of the first Lollapalooza. They
Oh,
just blew everyone else away for me.
yeah.
And I loved all the bands. I got to meet Ice-T, although I was a little too high to talk to him, but I got to hang out with him for a minute. Susie and Banshees were incredible. Seeing the Residents on the Mole do the Mole show in San Francisco was mind-bending. I have lists, because I've seen so many things. Seeing Chris and Cozy of Throbbing Gristle, you know,
Wow.
and I look around and there's a couple humping, having sex on the floor during the concert. It was wild. Alan Holdsworth, my favorite guitarist. I got to see him and meet him. Finally got to see Gong. They were amazing. When I saw Ride and Slow Dive,
Yeah.
that was awesome. And it was at like a bowling alley, and so I knew the place, so I just went back to the band room and partied with them.
Was that the early 90s one?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
it's fantastic. Mark, like I said, Mark of Ride Mark Gardner was real nice to me. He's like he just wanted to make sure because I was the only black person there. Often this is the case. He just I don't know. He just really liked the fact that I wanted to hang out. And then I ended up in a big conversation with Rachel and Neil about working with Eno. It was fantastic. I've had a lot of experiences like this. When I met Chick Corea, I blew his mind asking about one of his more obscure records. He said, I think maybe only 5 people know about that record. And I said, man, that's one of my favorites. I've had this a lot. When I met the Mothers of Invention, Don Preston and Bunt Gardner, and talking about early Zappa stuff, it was the same. It's like, yeah. He said, how the fuck do you know this stuff? So I had a lot of fun like that. I have.
What do you think of Discog?
It's useful. I didn't at first think much of it, but I use it. I mean, I have my collection listed on there. Not, I guess it's public if you want to look for it, but I use it as a database, so I use it in that sense.
I want to wrap up with our this last comment, and it's resonated with me since you shared it with me a couple days ago when we first had our off-air conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that um, again I see the quality in you that you are brutally honest, and I think you mentioned to me, and maybe to a fault for some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You talked about when you do your YouTube shows, people get on there, and most people are pretty cool and respectful.
Yes. Yes.
But you've dealt with some thorns in your side.
Yeah. Yeah.
How the hell do you deal with that? Because I imagine you have received just some.
It's ongoing.
Yeah.
It's ongoing, and it's a challenge, and it's a work in progress. I'll give you the latest. So besides doing this one here, I just did a conversation with Jonas Samuelson. He just uploaded that video, and so I was letting everybody know about that today as well as this. I went to check the video, and already there was a comment where, just a moment, I'm going to read it for you. It won't take me a second to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but it's an example of what I deal with. And I say that part of this has to do with the difference in being black and white. Um, Here we go. Here we go. Just a second. Yeah. Come on. Okay. So Jonas Samuelson's video of our conversation is up, and someone wrote that said, I have watched many of Dereck's videos. He has a great musical mind and a great bunch of records, but he does often vent his anger over how he has been treated in life by certain factors, and his spew often is injurious to his viewers. It has led me away from his channel. That's bullshit. That's
Okay.
absolute bullshit. If he decides to respond to me like that, it ain't got nothing to do with me.
Tell me more about what do you mean by that?
How the hell am I going to be responsible for how you respond to what I say? I'm responsible for what I say. I'm well aware that I speak directly and sometimes harshly, but it's up to you how you take that. I'm not responsible for your response for how you take it. And the idea that I'm being injurious, how the fuck is it going to be injurious, to be honest? Fuck that shit. And see, that's when I get back to the racist stuff, is that, and I'm just going to be real blunt. A lot of white people have no idea what it's like to be to not be white in this white centered culture that we live in. It's bullshit. So that's why I speak up like I do, and I'm not going to stop. And if you don't like it, and to try to put it back on me with some gaslight shit like I'm injuring other people, fuck that bullshit. That's bullshit. Thank you for letting me say that. Now I don't know what you think about it, but that's my stance.
Okay, so for me, as I'm talking to you and hearing you, and I understand to a degree of what you're saying about this unfiltering of the mind here. Like you
Yeah.
say it how it is. You just like, and people can take your words and do whatever they want with it.
Right.
And I'm only asking. I'm not making any presumptuous comments here.
Well, this is a good conversation. This is good to talk about.
I've come across people in my life where they speak their mind, and for some people, they, like you said, it could be caustic, it could be very abrasive, and for some of those people in my life, it took me a while to appreciate. And the reason why I appreciate it is because even though I wasn't friends with them, I knew where I stood. I knew where I stood.
Yeah.
And I saw this in the educational business with some teachers. And you either loved them or you disliked them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was one teacher I truly admired, even though she might have crossed the line at staff meetings. But I was saying, I bet she's saying what other people are thinking.
Exactly.
And I applaud that. Now, personally, do I think maybe she could have reworded things to get the point across? Perhaps. But I also think, but then that would not have been her.
Yep. Right.
And I tried to do this with my students. Be you. So if you're mad at me, be mad at me.
Yeah, be mad. Yeah. Yeah.
Express how you are.
Right.
And it's up to me as the recipient of your language, whatever I'm going to do with it, and how am I going to react to it?
Yeah.
So I imagine, like, so my question is to end this. Is there a moment, you don't have to tell specific, but when you do videos or when you receive these things, do you ever step back and say, maybe I could have said it in this way?
No, because why? I look back and see the things I've said, and I can't think of a thing I would say differently. Why?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should have.
Yeah. Tell me why.
Like that teacher, she was trying to get a point across, and kudos for doing that authentically.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes for her getting her point across in that manner,
Mm-hmm.
maybe she wasn't able to catch as many fish
Yeah.
in that conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
she never sold out in any manner. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
oh, God bless her. I hope she's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I can respond. I know this is my response. The thing that keeps me on my path is knowing what my intention is in what I say.
Mhm.
Okay, and that involves being honest. I know when I could say something and my intention is to cut, to be
Mm.
okay. Generally, I don't say those things. I think it through and say it more diplomatically. And that's why I'm like this, is that even though I do that, still deal with folks who can't deal with it. But the thing that allows me to continue forward is knowing what is my motivation, what is my intent. And if my intent is to hurt, then I don't do it. If my intent is to say what I'm trying to say as clearly as possible, but also let you know how I feel because I have a right to do that, I'm gonna do it.
So let me push back just for fun here. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
so
yeah,
that person, you don't have to name, I don't want you to name that person who
yeah,
wrote that thing.
yeah.
I don't know who this person is. You
Mhm.
probably don't know who this person
Not
is.
at all. Not
But
at all.
what if their intention was to express in a manner where they thought they were being authentic and real and it pissed you off?
It doesn't piss me off. When people are racist and shitty, that pisses me off. When people say things like, well, I think that's injurious, well, that's how you took it. Don't piss me off. It's like, I just say, okay, that's how you took it. I know what my intention was, and so I intend no injury to anyone. So you can think that, but that's not what's going on over here.
How much do you value words? It sounds like words are very important to you.
Very important. Very important. It was one of the things that I definitely did as a young black kid, is because again, back in the 60s, it was just assumed that black people are less intelligent. So early on, besides reading the whole Bible, I read the whole fucking dictionary, okay? And I always worked on my vocabulary. And throughout school, I was a grade A, grade one English student because it was important. I learned early on, also through my grandfather, the importance of communication and how you present yourself in this white world because it's uneven. I'm starting from the coming out of the womb. I'm coming out at it with a disadvantage. Okay, and when you're I say this, and this is one of those things where people don't like it, and this is not injurious. You need to hear this. This is something that white people don't experience because we live in a world where it's set up for white people.
I'm hearing you, and I think this is
Well, I mean, if you could take this skin for one day, you'd come back saying a whole different thing, W. Because you can't understand what I'm saying because you don't have direct experience. What's your ethnicity, may I ask?
I'm Latino.
Okay. Have you experienced any problems being Latino? Or are you able to pass as white and get all the goodies?
You ever been to Steubenville, Ohio?
No, I haven't.
That was my first I felt encounter.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that was right after 9/11.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, I think I just experienced something there.
Mm.
And it just kind of shook me.
Mm.
Um, but it's as being an educator of kids and seeing all walks of life, all, and to me, this is my experience, not yours,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in seeing so many different children, ethnicities, financial backgrounds, what have you. To me, where I have seen the greatest divide, it's this is my experience. It's
Mm-hmm.
not so much in the color of the skin,
Yeah.
it's the differentiation of intelligence.
I would agree.
And I have seen children go through the system who have received less than satisfactory services.
Yes, yes.
Not so much because of their color of their skin.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't know if I agree with that. There's systematic shit, bro. There's systematic shit where we are not treated on the same level as white people. It's systematic. It is.
I would have to say, in that experience with special education services, what have you, IEPs, 504 plans, just children in general, that is one of the reasons why, and I don't want to get into this whole thing, but music has played an amazing role in my classroom. Because if we are so separated by where we grow up and this and all that, we're going to come together through the arts.
There you go. Yeah.
And it's been an amazing experience for me.
The universal language. Yeah.
And I swear that's where the Beatles have played a huge role in my classroom.
That's wonderful.
Because it doesn't matter. They just know, oh, my dad, my grandma, whatever.
Yeah.
A unifying force. Dereck, do you have any last minute anything else? You mentioned some projects you were working on.
Not really. And it's like I could just go on. See, we could just keep talking. So it's ongoing. You know, I'm always making videos. So if I forgot to say something here, maybe I'll say it in the video tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
I have really enjoyed this conversation. I want to thank you for inviting me. I'm impressed with you as a person. You seem quite genuine.
Thank you. I appreciate those very complimentary words. There's a great movie with Joaquin Phoenix called Come On, Come On. It came out 2 years ago, and it really shook me to the core in terms of where I was in my life and where I want to go. And it's the truth. It's the truth. Going inside the deep cavernous part of humanity. And sometimes that truth is utterly painful and just, I love it. And so that's why I love these conversations.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'm down with that. See, I guess that's probably the difference. And that's also why I kind of identify with being a nerd or maybe Asperger's or something, is that I'd rather talk about something than nothing. And I'm not running away from anything about my life or who I am, where I've been, what I've done. None. It's all, for me, it's all up on the surface. And that's why I have a lot of inner peace. It's because I'm not running away from myself or anything or my past, you know. And
you, based on what you shared earlier, you did all that. You did run away.
Yeah. And so I've come back.
You've come back.
Yeah. I'm right here.
This is William, aka W, High Arts on the Edge. This has been a wonderful conversation with Dereck Higgins.
Thank you so much.
A vinyl enthusiast, musician, a man of great words. And words, you know, I think after this conversation, I'm going to be reflecting on quite a bit here. And I enjoy that process. So thank you.
You can have me back. I'd talk more, you know, I don't mind.
I appreciate it. Someone just said, Damon says, totally agree on the first Lollapalooza. Susie and the Banshees were incredible. And then great talk. And I think Susie's coming back for that.
Yeah, next year, or this year, she's coming back. Yeah, she's my queen. I love her, you know. And I remember seeing her, the first images of her, like on the Bill Grundy show with the Sex Pistols. She just really stood out, you know. She wasn't even a musician, but I just saw something in her, and it's what I saw is real. She's got a big, I don't know the right word, personality, I don't know. She's a badass.
To me, it's just that presence.
Yeah, she's like a queen. I love her.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dereck. Take care, everyone.
See y'all.